The AFL Players Association can confirm that all 34 current and past Essendon players have instructed lawyers to file an appeal against the CAS decision handed down on Tuesday, 12 January. The appeal papers will be lodged with the Swiss Federal Supreme Court later today. The players have decided to exercise their legal right to an appeal in an endeavour to clear their name and ensure that a just outcome is achieved. The decision to appeal was a decision for each individual player alone, having a regard for their own circumstances. The appeal has been made on the ground that the CAS erred in determining that the WADA appeal should be conducted as a de novo hearing. That is, WADA should only have been allowed to appeal the unanimous decision of the AFL Anti-Doping Tribunal on grounds of either legal error or that it was grossly unreasonable. It's important to note that the players have not sought an injunction to cause a stay of the CAS decision, meaning they will remain suspended until the Swiss Federal Supreme Court has considered and determined this matter. The appeal is not about an immediate return to football for the players involved, but rather is about obtaining a just outcome and clearing their name. We expect to be advised by the court on the next procedural steps, including key timings involved in the appeal process.
Why haven't the players sought that injunction to try and play?
Look, I think they really are looking to confine this matter to 2016, and there's a risk that if they seek an injunction, that this could drag into 2017. So, this is about clearing their name. That's what's most important to these players, and that's what we're focused on.
There's been some reports, though, that this could drag even longer because WADA and CAS could theoretically appeal the Swiss Federal Court's ruling. Is that your understanding, or what's your understanding of that?
Oh, look, it's possible, but our understanding is that, that the players, their bans can't be any longer than what they are. So whilst the process in the background may continue on, we certainly can't put a time frame on that. Our understanding is the players will be available in 2017.
Any idea when this will be heard?
Probably not exactly, but our lawyers are estimating 4 to 6 months this process should be complete.
So is there any hope at all that they might actually be free to play in 2016?
Oh, look, at this stage we're certainly proceeding on the basis, and the players are, that they won't be playing in 2016.
What sort of support does the PA provide in this proceeding? Do you provide the legal support?
Oh, look, we have members of our legal team that are part of the players' legal team. I want to be very clear, despite some reports to the contrary, we're not funding any of the legal costs around this. That's the Essendon Football Club are doing that, but we'll continue to support the players, and it's not just legally. We're supporting them in a whole lot of other ways, particularly from a wellbeing perspective, and we're working with each and every one of the 34 players around that at the moment.
Is it one legal team for all 34 players?
Yes, yeah, we've got a Swiss legal team that will be running this case.
And how there are challenges with this case, given that the Swiss Federal Court, judging by reports, do hearings in other languages, and take us through what are the challenges with this.
Oh, I mean, they're all challenges that we've been wrestling with over the last month. But as I said, we've got a Swiss legal team that is dealing with this. They're experienced in these matters, so we think we've got the right people around the players.
And obviously, they wouldn't have taken on the case if they didn't think there was a chance.
Oh, we're all optimistic about the prospects. We wouldn't be taking this on, and the players certainly wouldn't be taking this on if they didn't think they had reasonable prospects.
Because Essendon is funding this, does that affect any future claim of compensation from the club?
I mean, the compensation issue is a separate matter, and that's something that will follow. But clearly, if the players are successful here, that changes things from where we sit right now.
And so is that parked for the time being then?
Look, I wouldn't say it's parked, but I don't think we can get to an outcome there until this matter's resolved.
A lot of legal experts have said this is a long shot, but what gives you the belief that the players do have a strong case?
Good lawyers telling us that they do, I guess, is the first answer to that. But we think that I guess the players' legal rights around this, they have the right to an appeal. The rules, I guess, we believe were changed after the AFL Anti-Doping Tribunal commenced. We think that there's strong legal grounds around that, so that's the angle that's being pursued.
Well, Essendon's legal advice and the players up until now has proved, it seems as though it's been pretty misguided, I guess, in terms of the results that are being achieved. I guess where does the confidence come from this time around?
Oh, look, it's difficult to be certain in these types of issues. I mean, we've got exceptional lawyers telling us that we've got reasonable prospects. But at the end of the day, it was an individual choice for every player. They were presented with this information. 34 of them have decided to pursue it, and I guess we'll take it from there.
Well, have you been in touch with Job regarding this appeal, and what does it mean for his Brownlow medal?
Oh, we've been in touch with every single player, and frequently, but the decision around the Brownlow medal now has to be put on hold because if the appeal is successful, then the players are cleared, and Job Watson should keep his Brownlow.
Should he ever have to hand it in himself?
Oh, look, let's deal with that when the time comes. I mean, that's very much a matter for Job.
Were they all immediately unanimous on this, or did some have to be convinced to go this way?
Look, probably two parts to answer that question. The first thing is they weren't all immediately jumping into this, but they didn't have to be convinced. No one convinced them. This was an individual decision, and the reason it took a bit of time for some of them is that the toll this issue has taken has been huge, and for some of them they were at a point where they just wanted this to end, and they were mentally prepared to serve out the suspension. But I guess as this unfolded and it became clear that a number wanted to challenge it, I think the players probably saw that it's something that they could park to one side in their own heads, get on with what they're going to do this year, and let the lawyers run this process for them.
What will they do this year?
Lots of different things. I mean, we're working with every individual. We're working on how we can get some of them studying, working. Some of them will do a bit of travel. We're trying to find individual solutions for all of them. So they've got a bit of purpose and direction this year.
Will they train away from Essendon, like in their own sort of group? Is there been some sort of formality put to that? Yeah, look, we're helping them through that. I mean, they can't train with any of the clubs that they're involved in. It's not just Essendon players we're talking about here. But there'll be guys that'll go and do their own thing. There'll be guys that train together, but they've got to do that away from the club environment. So we're assisting them through that.
As far as the payments go, like their weekly, monthly income, will they get paid next month?
Yeah, I mean, there's still the intent is that they will get paid the majority of their salary. We're still working through how that is going to work and who's going to pay that.
So next week, like who's going to pay them?
Well, they get paid monthly, so we haven't necessarily got a next week as a deadline. But as I said, we're still working through that.
In general, how would you, given it's been a few weeks now, the general headspace of those players, how would you sort of describe how they're coping with it so far?
Probably, I mean, it's been extraordinarily tough for all of them, and some of them, I guess, are coming to terms with it quicker than others. But this is, it's an individual sort of circumstance they're dealing with. I think some of the players have been copping a fair bit of grief from members of the public, and that's been very difficult for them to take. We've maintained all the way through this that we believe the players are victims here, and I certainly believe that's their view. So they're doing it tough, but I guess it gets a little bit easier day by day.
Has there been any pressure from the AFL in terms of not taking this step and just absolutely closing the door on this matter?
Certainly not to us, and as far as I know, not to the players.
You've spoken to Gill about it?
Yeah, I've had several conversations. Oh no, I mean he understands the players have got a legal right to appeal this, and he certainly hasn't tried to convince us that they shouldn't.
Paul, what's the main issue with the de novo aspect? Is it the fact that Thomas and B4 was, I guess, considered and put to the cast?
Well, understanding that when the AFL Anti-Doping Tribunal process started, the players are operating under the 2010 Anti-Doping Code, and under that code there was no right to a de novo hearing. That actually changed midway through the AFL Anti-Doping Tribunal process, and our view is that the 2010 code should apply here and not the 2015 code.
Can you sort of see how that sort of looks like? You're more focusing on the technicality rather than what actually happened?
No, I mean, people will jump to those sort of conclusions, but from where we sit, the players had an emphatic win in the AFL Anti-Doping Tribunal hearing. WADA and ASADA had the ability to appeal that to the AFL Appeals Tribunal. They didn't do that. They had the ability to do that on an error of law, or that it was a grossly unreasonable outcome, and they didn't do that because, in our view, they didn't think they could actually win. Instead, they went down a path of a completely new hearing, and we believe that they didn't have the right to do that. So, and this outcome has negatively affected the players' legal rights. So it's not a technicality. We think this is a fundamental legal right the players have.
But doesn't affect it. I mean, Cass found that they did. Doesn't that sort of justify the process that WADA took in it?
Well, I think you could also reverse that and say, doesn't the fact the AFL Anti-Doping Tribunal found that they didn't, doesn't that also justify the position the players have taken here? So, look, I think this is a legal issue that will play itself out. You know, they're the only grounds that we've got available to us here, and we think they're strong grounds.
Just in terms of the actual mechanics of the hearing, and given that it's being held over in Europe, do any players actually have to travel over? Like, who has to get involved at a personal level?
Yeah, look, it's certainly our understanding that no players will need to go over there.
Paul, there's talk that if the appeal's successful, there might be another hearing with Kaz. Like, you could go on any further. Can you talk to that? I think
that question was asked earlier, and I addressed that. I mean, what will be on that particular point. But our understanding is that it can't impact the ban that the players are currently under.
Does that mean, though, Paul, it's probably unlikely some of those reports this morning that Essendon players could potentially play this year? I mean, in light of the fact that it could potentially go back to Cavs, it's unlikely they would play this year on timeline.
Yeah, look, I also obviously addressed that earlier, but no, we don't expect the players to play this year.
Paul, is the PA actively supporting Hal Hunter and what he's going through?
Yeah. Well, look, we've been in conversations with Hal. I mean, Hal, we certainly support his rights like any of the other players there. Hal has been doing his own thing for a little while, but we've been in conversations with him, and they continue.
Because of the language barrier, will you engage local legal support in Switzerland?
Yeah, once again, I addressed that earlier, and we do have lawyers in Switzerland who'll be dealing with this.
Paul, just coming back to the payment issues, is from the Players Association, you don't really care whether it's Essendon or the clubs and some of these other players have now gone to pays the players, just as long as they get paid?
Yeah, spot on. I mean, I think we're very confident that issue will be dealt with, and we've had conversations with Essendon and the other clubs, and it's not just the AFL players we're worried about here, it's all 34 players, and we're working towards a solution. I can't give you any more than that because we haven't quite got there yet.
What do you make of the scenario that some of the clubs where other players have gone to after they've left Essendon aren't able to top up? I know this may have been covered before, but now with a bit of hindsight and now that this legal challenge has come, what do you make that they can't top up any of their lists?
Oh, look, our opinion was sought on that matter. We certainly believe that every club, as a minimum, should have the same list sizes. So I think Port Adelaide were negatively affected there, and we made a submission to the AFL to that effect. The AFL have made a decision. I know Port Adelaide have moved on, so I guess we move on from that.
Well, you're in a sticky situation insofar as one of the roles of the association is to represent the rights of these aggrieved players. Some of your other constituents, i.e. other players, might be A, fed up with the situation, and B, think they actually did dope and be frustrated by the Players Association's position.
Oh, look, that's always a balancing act. A lot of issues that we deal with is, we often support the rights of one individual player. Other players in the competition may have a different view around that. We've spent a lot of time, educating all players as to the importance of our role there, and it's about supporting everyone's individual rights. And any player in this competition can come to the AFL Players Association and seek our assistance on whatever the matter might be. So I think the majority of the players get that, but some of these issues are difficult. There's no hiding from that.
A couple more guys on the down.
You talked after the initial decision about, questioning whether the WADA code really applied to a team sport like the AFL. Has there been any further talks with the AFL about that?
I think you'd appreciate how busy we've been in the last month trying to get to where we are today, so we haven't really taken it up really meaningfully, but we have had a couple of conversations, and I think that's ahead of us over the next sort of 12 to 18 months.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.